Hey everybody, since it's my first video for you all, I'm going to start by showing my face. Everyone though in this class knows me already, so some of you only virtually, some of you not, and you're probably looking at me and be like, dude, Shay, you really let yourself go. Well, it's not like I'm making myself look pretty for anyone. I don't have to worry about it as much as usual. So I'm not going to introduce myself or anything like that because I already know that you all know me. So I'm just going to jump right into talking about the syllabus. Okay. So, best way to contact me is really by email, and then exclusively for you guys, because there's not very many of you, and I can trust you all because you're all at least advanced far enough in your studies. That's my personal cell phone number. So then you can just text me, say who you are, because I'm not going to store your name in my phone, because then it'll be like, who's Courtney, right? And then, and then she's texting me all the time, and like, then I got to sort that compared to like, my son's, messages right above hers, and my wife's right below hers, and then all of a sudden I'm like yelling to my son on text, like, hey, stop doing that. And then Courtney's like, dude, why are you sending me all these texts? Again, I'm not going to store your name, so don't take offense at it. It'll just be, the only thing it'll require is that you say who it is, who you are first, before you send me this like text. To be formal or anything like that. But email works fine as well. So this is senior seminar. Here's our formal description of what we're supposed to do. But there's two ways that this can kind of be carried out. The usual way that this is carried out is that you find an area of interest and you build a research question around it. And since this is only a 15-week semester, we only really have enough time to set the stage for future research projects. I know in some of the other concentrations, they actually make you actually complete the whole project, right? Do the independent research and do the whole thing. We don't have that much time, and I don't want to do that to everyone. So we're really looking for the fact that you find your own project idea, you build a research question around it, you do literature review, you share some of your own thoughts, make some of your own conclusions, and then just kind of end it there. The alternative would be that you start to build for yourself a digital portfolio for getting a job. This requires probably a little bit more time, but obviously it's used a bit differently. You and I, if you chose that option, you and I would have to talk about what your career aspirations are and how to actually build up that portfolio with work you've completed in other courses and creating the narratives and what you want your output to be. But this would be for those of you who don't want to do a research question, you don't want to do these research methods, you're just eager to get a job. Well, let me tell you, it's at least, again, I'm not job hunting out there, but it's not easy to get a job if you're not, if you just have a resume. You really need to build up a lot more. And one of the things I feel like we can do in this course, which isn't like violating anyone's honor, is that you would spend your time in this course building a digital job portfolio. And again, if you just like blow it off and just give me some dumb junk, well, you're really the only loser. It's not me. I'm not trying to get a job. I already have one. Okay. So this kind of explains if you were to go with method 1, which is kind of the traditional way of doing this course. It's easy, it's simple, it's pretty straightforward. Basically build the beginnings of a research question. Now, again, I'm going to focus my attention on is if you're doing option number 1. Basically, the way we build up this research project is by you doing 5 writing assignments that build upon one another. And I give you comments, and it culminates in the final paper. And it's in the final paper where you put together those 5 previous writing assignments. You respond to my comments, you integrate my comments, and then you add a bit more. And then what I'm doing as a slight change this year is I'm making the paper due in the middle of April, and then you're going to need to make so that you don't have to do like that research presentation day or poster thing, unless you really want to. In that case, you wouldn't have to do the presentation, but otherwise you'll just be making some slides and doing a little presentation, but I'll talk about that as that time comes closer. So let's talk about what those 5 assignments are. The first one is the thing I want you to be basically doing this week, which would be that you decide on what your research question is going to be. Is there an area that interests you? What are some questions? If you can't think of any questions, tell me an area of interest and I'll get through it that way and give you some possible research questions that might be different. Then in research assignment number 2, RPA research project assignment number 2, you're building up some references. So you're doing some very basic research and you're not necessarily reading those items, you're just building up a list of them and putting it in the proper format. I don't care what you use, APA, MLA, Chicago style, and there's lots of websites out there that will do the work for you, but you need to do it one way or the other. I want you to be familiar with that guide. I'm not requiring that you make an appointment. Unless you're having a lot of difficulties, I won't require you to use the Noel Center for things in this course, unless you're having a lot of problems. If you're having a lot of problems with writing and whatnot, I may refer you or encourage you to do that. Then in research assignment number 3, you're finally doing some writing and you're basically going to give an overview of the research question, why does it matter, and then start to talk about the key points of what you're going to talk about in the paper. Then we've got the literature review. Literature review is difficult because it then requires you to read the other things that you all identified in research project number 2. But again, not a requirement that you go to the center, but it's not just like a summary of the articles or of the books or whatnot. You need to read the things that you identified and you need to think about the kind of the conversation that they're having with each other, right? Someone is saying, this is my belief because I believe this. And then someone else is probably saying, I believe this instead. And so you need to think about, what that conversation is and how these different articles are trying to sort out the same thing. Then in the 5th thing, you need to talk about how you would answer your research question if you would have the time. So are you going to design a survey? What other kind of research would you do to try to answer this question? And then you take those 5 assignments, add a little bit more. See, because here I'm saying it's not just cutting and pasting, adding a bit more, merging the materials together so that we get an end project that's about 12 to 15 pages. Again, not a requirement. How will I be assessing your final paper? It's going to depend a large part on, did you actually read the comments I made for you? How are you responding to these things? And then finally, as I said, you're going to have to do a presentation, turn your paper into a PowerPoint, and you and I will do a one-on-one Zoom session and talk about the paper. Our grading scale, accommodations. And we're already in week 3. So unfortunately, you're already kind of being thrown into having to do research project number 1. You can be late on it, obviously, because I'm just making this stuff. But fortunately, I made this kind of class easy for the first few weeks for probably exactly this reason. So now our work will basically begin. Okay, that's it for this video.